Good morning, Dr. Ng. I think it should be good afternoon there. And first of
Yeah,
all, thank you so much. For taking your time to doing this YouTube session with us. Okay. So before we start, I would like you to, for example, briefly introduce yourself about your current role and then anything that you want our audience to know about you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you, Dr. Ma, for inviting me into this particular session. So I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Seah Young. So I'm currently working in Universiti Malaysia Sabah, Faculty of Food Science and Nutrition, as a lecturer here. So I just joined recently, actually, it's like just last year. And then I just like to tell you that before I joined this University Malaysia Sabah, I actually worked in a private sector, so including as a manager in the private commercial lab. So in the lab, so it is not something like the R&D lab that you might think of that is similar in the university, but it's more like a business type lab that is accredited under ISO 17025, and it actually serves various customers in Malaysia. By the way, I'm in Malaysia. So I just joined academics, and then I think I have connection both. I have information both in the ISO 17025 and as well as in the academics. So as for my background, currently I am a microbiologist, right? I'm a microbiologist, and I study things about probiotics. I study things about food safety and so on. So anything that is related to food. Yeah. So
yeah. So just now you mentioned about ISO 17025, right? So would you like to explain a little bit more about this to our audience? Because and also I think this is quite important as well, especially in Malaysia, right? And then you have like experience, in the industry. So it'd be good if you can know for that, like give some explanations or give some details to our audience. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So ISO 17025 is just another type of ISO. I think we are very familiar with things like ISO 9001 and this kind of management ISOs and so on. So what about this ISO 17025? So if you want to, according to the definition of this kind of ISO, if you look into the ISO website, it just say that this is just another ISO certification, right? It's just another certification where it is actually for testing and calibration laboratories. So that means you have a sample to test, or you have something that you want to calibrate to make it accurate again. So these are the work scope of this kind of laboratories. And these laboratories, they are so special in such a way that they have to operate in terms of a very standardized standardized method, so that you can get a very valid results. And this will actually provide confidence and boost confidence to the customers. So why is it that we want this ISO 17025? Is because that everybody can just do that particular experiment, and we will say that that is that particular result. But whether are you doing it correctly, whether do you have a competent person that is running the test? You cannot just ask a secondary school children to run a particular test and then you claim that, oh, that entire thing is correct. So that's why here comes the ISO 17025, which outlines and set all the guidelines and tell what are the requirements to run this test and what are the correct tests the correct ways to run this test. And hence, when we come back to our major focus today, that is, if let's say I want to test something that related to nutrition, then the person that tests these kind of things must really know how to run it. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I think you have really briefly explained about ISO 17025, like the importance. So how about in the context for nutritionists? So why is this ISO 17025 laboratories important for nutritionists? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when you talk about why is it important to nutritionists? So the first thing, what does the nutritionist do? They need to advise their customers. Let's say they have customers, right? So they need to advise their customers about how are they going to eat something or not to eat something. And I would say that they cannot avoid things like processed food, for example. So when you come to processed food, then most of the countries, I would say all of the countries, when they produces this kind of processed food, they have a law and regulation requires them to have a nutrition table, something like that. So with that, then we will actually know what is the, for example, the what is the carbohydrate content, what is the protein content, and all this information will actually help the nutritionist to determine whether this kind of food is suitable to their client or not, or how should they arrange the portion and quantity of the food for the clients. So the nutrition content, it isn't just about ask anyone else to run the test and then I just claim that, oh, for example, these particular things have 20 grams of carbohydrates, but are you going to query this particular result, whether is it true that it is contained 20 grams? Is it possible that it is 30 grams, let's say, if they are still using the same formulation to produce that particular food product? So all this, you need a very solid answer, and you need a very trusted body to give you the particular result. And another thing maybe you can do is, other than this basic nutrition information, if you have particular query on, for example, vitamins, you have minerals, then you can just send your samples and you can just check this kind of things. So this ISO 17025, they doesn't limit themselves in testing things like very basic nutrition contents, but you can test other things by using things like maybe HPLC or GC, as long as that particular lab is capable to run it, then this particular test can be run and you will know what is the result. And besides that, maybe things that is not so related to nutritionists are those food safety kind of concern, whether the total bacterial count is still within spec or not. So these kind of things can be used and can be utilized by the nutritionist, I'll say. Yeah.
Okay. And so now I think I have a better understanding about why ISO 17025 laboratories are important for nutritionists. Okay. So my follow-up question is that, I just want to know more. Okay. So how does nutritionists make use of ISO 17025 laboratories? Yeah.
Okay. So as we said just now, right? So when we say that those, the nutrition facts kind of things is really useful for them. So that is the first hand kind of things that they can refer to. But another thing is maybe things like if that particular nutritionist, they have questions on the particular product, then they can always send that particular product for testing by themselves. So that is not a problem. I have people say, like customers, they have questions regarding that. For example, their clients are taking some kinds of food, or maybe near to supplement kind of food. They are unsure that whether the food is only just food that creates that particular effect for them, or they have other unknown things inside. For example, maybe steroids that is helping them, so-called as the beneficial effects. So all this can be tested, and of course we will say that these are the part of the the government's job or some authorities' job to make sure all these kind of things are correct. But sometimes when you are a nutritionist, then when you have doubt on particular things and then you want to know more about that particular product, then maybe ISO 17025 is useful to help in this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I can see that now you know a lot, and then I think you have done a lot of things that related to ISO 17025. So I would like to ask now, how does your past experience with ISO 17025 help with your current research, or even maybe with your current role? For example, when you do your research or when you teach this to your students, how does this past experience help?
Yeah. So as I mentioned that because the ISO 17025 doesn't limit in testing nutrition content, they also run things about checking what are the total microbial count, total yeast and mold count, and so on. So, and right now I'm still focusing in food research. I mean, sorry, food safety and probiotics and so-called kind of research. So right now, I'm trying to check, and survey those kind of food that is being sold in around the area, the stalls and so on. Maybe they are just been sold at the roadside. So what is the cleanliness or what is the hygiene? Although we believe that the total amount of bacteria doesn't exceed the limit, but how much is it? Just so these kind of things are what I'm doing right now. And how does this past experience help me is I need to select some method that is really relevant and really trustable. And because when you check in the journal, so many people, they are actually using different methods in just testing the very simple and the same object. For example, there are at least 10 or 20 uh, types of methods to detect salmonella in food. So which method is most appropriate to me? I mean, in my context, of course, we'll say that some of them, you say maybe you're going to go for DNA detection, and others you go for the agar method. Then you try to cultivate salmonellas in the agar plate or whatever. But what kind of agar plates that do you want to use? Because there are at least a few agar plates that you can choose. So which is the best selection? So I come back to the the knowledge of this ISO 17025, I do know that all of this agar, although they carry the same result, but sometimes they work with different kind of selective nutrients, and therefore in certain cases, there are certain combinations that you need to be done. And also, for example, you will know that still the same salmonella example, you will understand more like why do you need to pre-enrich the salmonella before you go and test the pathogens or whether there are presence of this salmonella or not. So these kind of things actually do help me in method selection. So that my entire study will look more valid. I do not, just cultivate the salmonella on a plate, just following this particular journal, but without doing the subsequent confirmation test. So these are the things that I'll be, more concerned with if you're talking about
Mm.
the research.
Yeah, I see. I can see that, this ISO, 17025, indeed, it will help to build, I mean, not only important for the nutritionist, but also for the customer to really have confidence, for the product that they are consuming. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have any advice that you would like to give to students or early career researcher who would like to work, in your research area? Yeah.
If you're talking about my research area as a microbiologist, then of course you need to understand all the basics of microbiology because microbiology is very, very wide. I would say very wide because other than food microbiology that I'm more familiar with, there are still other types of environmental microbiology or any types of microbiologies because they are actually everywhere. So we'll come back to what are the things that you would like to focus. For example, like me, I like food, so I already focus on food. If you have other interests, for example, some of them they like particularly some pond water or something like that, then environmental microbiology is maybe a better way or better place for you to get focused in. But coming back to how do you want to come to join me or something like that, then I would say that maybe you just study whatever that you can do. Make sure that all the basic microbiology things, and including the chemistry and even the biotech kind of knowledge, you need to master them. And then from there, you need to make sure that all this knowledge are interconnected in your mind so that you can have a clear picture about what microbiology is. And then maybe you can just get a master and PhD about this. Then you'll be really an expert in this. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so my last question is that, so what kind of research questions or projects would you like to explore in the future?
Yeah. So I already mentioned that currently I am studying things like food safety. So food safety, such as exploring the microbial viability around the stalls in my area. So after I have done, because this project is still ongoing, I just started this project not long ago. So it will be like maybe you can foresee that around in 2 years' time, I'm still doing this kind of things. But other than these things, what that comes into my mind is maybe I would like to explore more on this. Other than these stalls, maybe are those kind of very common human practices. How do they affect the microbiological safety, and do they actually invite pathogens in growing in their food or something like that? And then I might also like to check what are the conditions that is actually suitable for the microbial growth, pathogen growth. I mean, in the local environment, because environments, different environments are actually different. They act differently, and what are the mechanisms behind? So these are the things that I might start to explore. And also, not to forget, I actually very interested in probiotics as well. So I might try to isolate some local strains and then try to make use of the local probiotic strains. Yeah.
I mean, like, it looks like you have a very good plan, that you want to do, a lot of things to do. And I hope
Yes.
that all this will
Yes.
turn into very impactful research and also papers as well. Okay. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I think that's all we want to ask you. And then thank you so much for sharing, your research and also some tips, that I think is very useful for the students and also for early career researchers who would like to work in this field. Yeah. So do you have any other things or any other questions before we close, this session? Yeah.
Well, maybe I would just say that my experience is a bit different from other researchers, maybe because I see that some of my colleagues, they actually do not have a lot of past experience in the industry. It's not like me. I actually really went into the industry before, and therefore what I think right now is my type of thinking maybe is not so pure research based thinking. I will start to think of what are the benefits that I can bring to the industry as well, because we always need to bring win-win situation. We cannot just do something that is only benefit so-called as yourself. And although those fundamental knowledge are really important, but sometimes we can try to research things that also benefits the industry as well. So this also what are the things that I would like to do. That's why we are sharing this ISO 17025, and then in the future I might also try to combine all this knowledge together, and maybe I will try to try to send some samples to the ISO 17025 labs. So yeah, all these kind of things I think that I will start to do, and then I think it is good that everyone um can start to do things that benefits the industry as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, just a follow-up question. Let's, for example, like in Malaysia or in Sabah, is it very easy to find this kind of ISO 17025 laboratories?
Because I'm located at the Kota Kinabalu. From what I know, we have at least one commercial lab that is located at Kota Kinabalu, and they receive samples. Because I already meet those people, and besides that, we still have have some other companies who have runners at this area, although they do not have a physical lab at this particular city, but they will send the samples to Kuala Lumpur for testing. So in this process, although it might take another 1 day or 2 days for transportation, but at least the samples can reach there, and then we can start to run the test at Kuala Lumpur. But of course, if you say you want more test labs, maybe Singapore will have more test labs actually, and they covers a wider scope compared to us. Yeah.
I see. Okay, I think that's all from me. So I mean, like, thank you so much for your time. Okay, so
Thank you
I
very
look forward
much.
to speak to you again. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Okay, I'll
Thank
just
you.
stop here. Okay,
All right.
okay,
Thanks.
Dr. Ang, thank you